YouTube, Autumn Beckman here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My channel is all about luxury on a budget, so if you're into that sort of thing, make sure you click the subscribe button and like all my videos and click the bell notification icon to be notified when I post a new video. Today's video is the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a YouTuber. Before I get to that, I want to say I haven't posted in a whole week. I was on spring break. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed home most of the time, just chilled with the dogs, bonded with Roxy some more, did some serious bonding with Roxy. She's really opened up. She seems a lot more comfortable now. She comes up to me. I mean, she came up to me before, but she's coming up to me even more on her own and being cuddly, which she wasn't doing before, playing more. She just seems a lot more comfortable now that I've had some time to really devote to her and spend with her, which is so lovely to see. Also spent time with Baron and Vincent and some time with the boyfriend, mostly just hung out at home. Did go out and do a few things, but not very much. I hadn't planned to take a break from YouTube over spring break, but I did. I guess I needed a break. But I'm back now, no worries. Got my hair cut too. I only do that about once or twice a year. I'm not a big fan of going to salons. Well, I don't go to a salon. I go to the cheapest place I can find and just get a trim. But yeah, I don't enjoy that. So, I mean, you guys know I'm not into the beauty stuff. All right, let's get to the content of this video. The good, the bad, and the ugly of being a YouTuber. So the good, the best part for me is you guys. It's being able to communicate with people from all over the world, which is so incredible. And that's not something I was expecting when I started this channel. I had no idea that it would be so global and reach so many people, and that so many of you would reach out to me. And it's just really incredible to be able to talk to people who you're probably never gonna visit their country. You would never have spoken to them otherwise. But it's just pretty amazing and incredible. Power of YouTube. The bad. This is gonna be something that I don't think any of you are expecting me to say. The bad is taxes. This is one thing I did do over my spring break, work related, was my taxes. This is the first year that I've had more complicated taxes. I usually, if you're in the States, you'll be familiar with these terms. I usually just file a 1040 EZ, I get a refund. It's very simple. I just plug in my income and the numbers on my W-2. Everything's easy peasy, and I do it in February as soon as I receive my paperwork, get my refund quickly. This past year, however, 2018 was the first year that I made some money with YouTube. Not a lot, but enough that I had to report it. And it turns out when you do that, you have to file as self-employed, and that makes taxes much more complicated. So it took me, I'd started working on it before spring break, and it took I don't know, a few days then, and then it took a few more days over spring break because I ended up itemizing expenses from the year that had to do with YouTube. I was able to claim my home office that I use exclusively for YouTube. That was a big reason we moved, was so I would have an office to use for YouTube. And I had no idea last year that I was supposed to be keeping track of all my expenses. Luckily, I keep track of everything anyway, but I had to go back on all my accounts and consolidate everything into one spreadsheet and then divvy that up between business and personal expenses, and then divvy the business expenses further into different categories so that I could enter those. That took a long time because I basically had to reconstruct the entire year. But I finally got it done. That is one of the bad sides of YouTube. You weren't expecting that, were you? Now the ugly side. This one you probably will be expecting. You can probably guess what I'm going to say because I've talked about it before. And that is, I don't even know what word to use for them, for this group of people. I know the word used often online is the trolls. I don't really like that word. I wish there was something better, but the people who leave mean comments just for the sake of leaving mean comments. And I wanted to bring this up specifically because a few weeks ago I had lunch with a friend and we were talking about this. She's not on YouTube, but we were talking about real life situations where she's been criticized about things that she's insecure about. And I found out that she's insecure about some things that I had no idea she would be insecure about. And I'll tell you what this is because you don't know who she is. And so all my life, I think my biggest insecurity has always been my weight. I've been open about that with you guys in other videos. And surprisingly, I really haven't received any negative comments about my weight. Maybe one or two here and there, but that's not something that people really criticize me about. Shocking. Anyway, my friend and I were at lunch talking about this, and this is something that I and people in my family struggle with, where pretty much everybody in my family deals with weight issues. And for the women especially, it's frustrating because I think women feel more pressure about their weight than men do. It's not always the case, but I think in general it's true. Anyway, I was talking to this friend and she has always been like so thin and gorgeous and in shape. She really takes care of herself. She watches what she eats, she exercises, and she's one of those people that, like, I look at her and, oh, I wish I could look like her, but you know, without having to diet and exercise. Who wants to do that? I love food too much. And she was telling me, actually, here's how it started. I was telling her about last summer when we were looking to move and we were taking tours of different apartment buildings, and there was this one that had a pool and there were a bunch of like 20-something gorgeous fit people by the pool. And I was telling her that I'd be uncomfortable going to the pool around those people because I'd feel intimidated because I don't look like them and I'd feel like they would judge me for that. And this skinny little girl who I've always wanted to look like, she told me she feels the same way. And that blew my mind because I've never thought that she would be insecure about how she looks, because I've always thought she looks so incredible. And I thought, well, that just goes to show you that you never know what other people's insecurities are, and even when you think somebody's totally secure about something, they aren't necessarily. It also goes to show me that even if I did look like her, I might still be insecure, so I might as well just eat the cheesecake, right? But here's where I'm going with this. In my experience, from what I've observed, from what I've had thrown at me, and again, I've said this before, I don't get many negative comments. Very lucky that way on my channel. But from what I've seen, the people who do that, who leave negative comments just for the sake of being mean, they're playing on your insecurities or trying to find insecurities, trying to make you feel bad. And what I want to get across in this video, in this part of the video, is a little advice from me that I hope will help you not feel bad when you receive criticism like this. I know I've said before that criticism like that is not about you, it is about them. It says more about those people than it does about you. Think about it this way. I'm gonna guess that 90+% of you would never do that. You wouldn't go to a YouTuber's channel, and if there was something about them you didn't like, you wouldn't leave some nasty comment to try to make them feel bad, try to tear them down. You would just click off the video. You probably wouldn't even click the little thumbs down button. And when I've talked to some friends before, friends on YouTube, friends off YouTube, they've said things like, you know, think about that person and how miserable they must be, how miserable their life must be in order for them to do something like that. Like, feel sorry for them. I'm sorry. The people who say that must be a lot nicer than I am, because I have no sympathy. I can understand the part about coming from a miserable life and that leading to that behavior where you're taking out your own anger, frustrations on other people. You have no control of your own life, so you're taking control where you can by putting other people down because you feel put down. Like, I can get the psychology behind that. The thing is, I come from a very difficult background. I've explained that before in the videos about my drug addict father. And I have never once done what these people do. I have never tried to tear someone else down. What I've done is built myself up. I got educated, I got a good job, I have creative outlets, and I work on myself. I also build other people up. I'm generally sympathetic, but I am not sympathetic to people who choose to be nasty to other people. They don't do that by accident. They don't just accidentally write hideous things about other people. That is a choice. That is a behavioral choice. So next time you receive a comment like that, whether it's online or from somebody in your life, think about it that way. And I think that has helped me, so I hope it would help you. Think about, would you ever make the choice to treat someone else that way? And for most of you, the answer is no. And that means that the negative comments those people are making says a lot about them, their choices, their insecurities, and nothing about you. What they choose to attack you for also tends to be very petty, surface level stuff, and they try to get to your insecurities. Think about it this way too. If you ever get a comment like that, that is about something that you're already insecure about. So for me, for example, if I was to receive a comment about my weight, somebody says something really negative about my weight, and I was already insecure about that, well, that just confirms that insecurity, right? It makes me think, yeah, I'm not the only person who feels that way about me, so it means that my insecurity is true and that this really is a bad thing and everybody else sees it too. Those are the most difficult ones to deal with because you're already feeling bad about yourself. But that's their plan. Don't buy into it. Just because they happen to pick something that you're already insecure about doesn't mean that they're right about it. And then what if they make a comment that's about something you're not insecure about? I'll give you an example here. On one of my style videos, and y'all know, like I said earlier, really not into beauty, fashion, all that stuff. I'm into the handbags, but I have talked about style a little bit and certainly never claimed to be an expert on it. We've just had discussions. I got a comment something like that I claim to be an artist, but I don't dress like an artist, something like that. Okay, first of all, style is not something I'm insecure about. I'm just not interested for the most part. Second, that comment just shows how narrow-minded these people are. I grew up with artists and musicians. There's no one way that they dress. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Artists and musicians are people just like anyone else. There is a great variety in their different styles and how they dress. They're individuals. Some dress like hippies. Some dress like they're in a Land's End catalog. It all depends on the person. One of the good things about YouTube ties into this ugly thing about YouTube, at least for me. And that is, I've been fortunate in my life not to receive much negative criticism. And on one hand, that was fortunate. On the other hand, it made negative criticism I did receive sting that much more. But with YouTube, I've received enough of it. Again, not that much, but I've received enough that I've become pretty immune to it. So now when I see these comments, I'm able to immediately dismiss them, even if it hits on something I might be insecure about, because I know that the comments aren't about me. They're about the person who is probably miserable and is choosing to be miserable to other people, choosing to try to deliberately hurt someone. And I've learned from my training in psychology, from my training volunteering on the domestic violence hotline at the Houston Area Women's Center, from the abusive relationship that I had with my father growing up, and an abusive relationship I had with an ex-boyfriend. By the way, neither of those were physically abusive in any way. I'm talking about emotional, psychological abuse, controlling behavior. I've learned from all these things and from observing other people that these miserable people who want to tear you down, it's all about control. Like I said, often they don't have control of things in their life, and this is one thing that they can control. They can choose to control and try to hurt someone else because they're hurting. It's a bullying tactic. It's a tactic of oppressors. It's abuse is what it is. It's behavior of abusers. Keep that in mind when you receive those comments, because again, they are not about you. Also, another way to think about it and maybe make yourself feel better is, what if the comments, like, turn it around. What if the comments weren't directed at you? What if you had a friend who was in a similar situation to you and someone was giving them these kind of negative comments? And what would you say to your friend? What advice would you give them? Would you tell them, oh, you should listen to that, they're right? Or would you tell them, no, that's all about them. Listen to the people who know you, who support you, who love you. We know best, not these strangers on the internet. And again, I wanted to go through that in hopes that it would help some of you out there at least to deal with those things, because we're all on social media. I mean, you're watching this, so you're on social media. We've all seen nasty comments on YouTube and Facebook and wherever else. And when we're watching somebody else's video and we see comments about them that are so negative, we don't think they're true. We just think that person is a jerk. So why don't we think the same thing when we get those comments directed at us? So much of what they're saying is so wrong. They make all these assumptions that are just completely wrong and don't take into account that human beings are complicated, multifaceted people. These people that make these comments, they're very narrow-minded, they're very one-sided. They want to boil everything down and oversimplify it, and that's just not how humanity works. So I hope that that helps you to deal with that better when you receive comments like that on social media or maybe even in your real life. I hope it helps you dismiss them, see them for what they really are, not the truth, not anything that deserves any kind of consideration other than dismissal. I'm fortunate that I have come to a place where I'm able to do that very easily, and I hope that my experience with that, my perspective on that, helps you get to the same place. And one last thing is, whatever insecurities you do have, try to work on them, because chances are other people aren't gonna think those things about you. They're too busy worrying about their own insecurities. And me with my weight, I struggled with that my whole life. That was something that was just constantly on my mind growing up. It took me a very, very long time to get over it. My weight is always up and down. But I don't, for the most part, don't have the psychological insecurities about it that I used to have. There was some turning point when I lived in New York where just something like a switch was turned in my head. And I hope whatever insecurities you have, that you can come to that place too, where you can turn them off. And it's not that they're gone completely always, but you don't let them eat you up. And if you're one of those people who does make those comments and tries to tear other people down, I suggest, and I'm saying this out of kindness, not trying to be a jerk, I suggest that you do some self-reflection. Take a look at your own life, figure out why you are unhappy, because happy people who are happy with their lives and themselves, don't do these sorts of things, don't behave this way. So figure out what's making you so unhappy, and if there's something you can do to fix that, then do it. Make your life happier. I know some things can't be solved. If you lost someone, can't bring them back. If you have some kind of illness that can't be cured, not a lot you can do about that, but you can choose to behave in a more positive way. You can choose to support other people. You can choose to make the world a better place rather than trying to make it worse. Just because you're unhappy and there are things in your life that you can't control probably, it doesn't mean you need to try to make other people's lives unhappy. Again, that just says a lot more about you than it does about them.